Good morning, everybody. This is Olivia Miller with Illinois WorkNet. Today we have our DHS TA webinar for our EPIC staff. We're going to have a really short webinar today. Chicago DHS staff are actually in a training right now, so we only have a few people on the webinar for today, so we're not going to cover anything too in-depth as we want to make sure everybody will be aware of the information. So today we're just going to focus on covering some of our dashboard numbers. While I'm getting that pulled up, if you guys can go ahead and check in. You guys already did it. Never mind. All righty. All righty. Here we go. So today we're just going to take a look at the enrolled dashboard and identify any areas in which we need some action or some cleanup. So it does look like we have 163 customers who have been marked as re-engaged, and they're needing an appointment scheduled for them. We do know that some of the customers are being marked as re-engaged, and they come in and meet with you guys, and it's determined that they are exempt, and some of them aren't wanting to continue their participation on. Dee has been working with Cody on ways in which we're going to go in and correct those customers. We will have some updates to the re-engagement process here in a while or so. We're working on kind of finishing out, laying out all the different ways in which a customer could go after the re-engagement appointment. So we will be making updates to prevent those customers from sitting up in the top. But for now, Dee's going to be working on those customers and cleaning up any customers who maybe were marked as re-engaged, but instead of actually being re-engaged, they were determined to be exempt and no longer participating. So if you do have any customers out of the 163 that have been marked as re-engagement and are eligible to be re-engaged with the CBO, just make sure you're going in there, scheduling an appointment with them and getting them their 2151 with their new appointment information. And then it looks like we have 16 customers who were no-shows to their original appointment or to their engagement appointment with the CBOs. Those 16 customers just need to be called back in for conciliation and determine if they can be rescheduled to go back to the CBO or if something's going on and that's why they're not showing up with the CBO. We also have 13 customers in Referral Rejected. Last I checked, 12 of these customers were not going to be engaged. So if you do have that one customer in there who's a Referral Rejected, make sure you're checking them out and seeing if any action is taken on our end to get them realigned with maybe a new CBO or figuring out why they were rejected with the CBO in the first place and the best way to move forward with them. Oh, it looks like we have a question here. Let me pull the webinar platform back up. So Erica says, I've been having an issue with individuals showing as needing to be re-engaged, and they are currently marked as exempt. So Erica, one of the things, that's kind of what I was talking about with Dee. We have customers who are being marked as re-engaged. And then they're coming in to meet with DHS, and DHS is determining that they are not eligible for re-engagement, or maybe they are eligible but they're exempt and the customer doesn't want to participate. When that re-engagement option is selected, it is clearing out the customer's enrollment and completion status and marking them as needing an appointment. So with the updates we're going to make, we're going to include an additional step before they're marked as being re-engaged. It'll be a pending re-engagement status. And it won't do anything with them. It won't clear any of their enrollment or completion out. That way, if the customer is identified as being exempt, once that is updated, once that status is updated to exempt, it'll move them back to where they were instead of showing them as needing an appointment. So if you do have any customers that are showing and the appointment has not been scheduled row and they are exempt and do not want to participate with EPIC, you do not need to do anything with those customers right now. That's something Dee and I are going to work on getting those customers resolved. We'll have to work with the CBOs because we're just going to have to re-put in their information and backdate their appointment. Awesome. Alrighty, so our next row on the dashboard is the no longer appropriate for provider services. We have 3 customers who have a 2151A marked with no longer appropriate for provider services. Our CBOs use this status to identify any customers who are no longer appropriate based with conversations they have with DHS during those staffing appointments. So if during the staffing DHS determines the customer is no longer appropriate for the services provided by that CBO, the CBO will then use the 2151 with this status to identify those customers. And then our next row is the DHS review recommend sanction. It looks like we have 11 customers who have a 2151A uploaded, and they're recommending sanction for that customer for failing to attend a conciliation appointment. So if you have any customers in those 11, be sure that you're calling them in and having them come in for a sanctioning appointment. Do you guys have any questions on any of the dashboard row numbers? Alrighty, I don't see anybody typing, so that is good. That is really all I had to review with you guys today. As you know, we have a lot coming up with the new cohort. And so, as I said, Dee and Tanya are both in Chicago today doing some training on those new cohorts and how that process will work. They're also doing some stuff with the EPIC steering group, so there'll be some interviews going on so we can get a better idea of how the system is working for you all and find and identify some possible updates to hopefully make this system easier and more compatible to use. It looks like Michael here says that we had an issue with accessing the webinar link. Was it an issue like trying to get into the webinar, Michael, or you didn't have a way to find the webinar link? Did anybody else have any issues with the webinar? Good deal, Lori. Michael's typing, but if anybody else has any questions or has ran into anything over the last 2 weeks and you guys want to have a further conversation about it or try to figure it out, definitely type it into the chat pod because after we get done with the questions, that's all I have for you guys, so we have plenty of time. Michael said, we had to go back through past occurrences to find the link. We're not receiving update emails for the every other Friday occurrence. Michael, I'll take a look and make sure that you're added to the calendar invite. Dee typically sends out webinar reminders, but she was in Chicago today, so I'm sure she didn't do it because she's been doing a training all day. We'll try to make sure that we get those sent out the Thursday afternoon or first thing Friday so that you guys are getting the reminders, but then I'll also include you on the invitation so you can save that link and have it in your calendar. All righty, do we have any other questions? Oh, yes, I can also send them to Ashley. Alicia. I will get you added to those right after we're done. Do we have any other questions? All righty, well that is all I have for you today for our DHS EPIC TA webinar. If you guys have any questions or run into anything by the time we meet next week, definitely be sure to reach out to Dee, Tammy, or I, and we can make sure to assist you with whatever is going on. I hope you all have a great rest of your Friday, and we'll talk to you. Our next webinar will be taking place on May 18th, so we'll talk to you then.